That's 11 in a row for the Tar Heels, 45-34 here at Carter Finley Stadium. I'm Joe Giglio, joined by Andrew Carter this week, our UNC beat writer. And Andrew, I feel like we learned a little bit more about UNC today, closing out their regular season 8-0 for the first time since 1980, and now they have their chance to win their first ACC title since 1980.
Dominant first quarter for the Tar Heels, up 35-7, and you could really tell that UNC wanted to run the ball down NC State's throat today. I think UNC, not going to admit this, Larry's not going to admit that he cares what Dave Doran said last year about the hand in the dirt, the blue collar thing, but I think UNC wanted to prove that it could be physical, wanted to prove that it could run effectively, and that's what it did throughout the game, but especially in that first quarter, 214 yards rushing after the first 15 minutes for UNC.
Yeah, 374 for the game, and really 220 yards from Elijah Hood. If you want to know the difference between this year's game and last year's game, other than the final score, Elijah Hood, 1 carry, -2 yards in last year's game.
And of course, no Shadrack for
NC State. No Shad. And you know, for NC State, they're an offense. This was one of their better offensive performances of the season.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, especially without Matt Days, without Shad.
It got sloppy for UNC really after the first quarter.
They did. I thought NC State, they obviously got way too far behind, but it was quasi-encouraging that they didn't give up.
Did not.
They made the score respectable. It was 35-23 after they went for a strange 2-point play in the third quarter.
Yeah.
But then that was the drive, I thought, where Carolina comes back, asserts themselves again, gets Hood going.
Right.
Really an impressive effort. And, you know, for Carolina's defense, too, they give up more than 500 yards, 300 yards rushing again.
They did.
But I thought they made plays. I thought when they had to have them, they made plays.
And that's been kind of the theme for this UNC defense most of the year. They step up when it matters. That's something that this defense did none of last season. And if I could really pinpoint one big difference for UNC defensively this year, it's that it doesn't fold in key moments. It steps up. You know, last week at Virginia Tech, it needed a stop in overtime, holds Virginia Tech to a field goal. At Pitt, you had a bunch of defensive stops in the second half. This has been a defense that, while the statistics might not be all that pretty, certainly they're a lot prettier than they were last year.
Yeah.
But statistically, they're still kind of average. But scoring, defense-wise, are pretty good. And in key moments, this has been a pretty good defense. They did come up with some key stops in the second half of that.
Absolutely. And last year, they leave this game, they're 6-6. They shuttle off to Detroit. They get smoked by a terrible Rutgers team.
Not good.
They leave here today now 11-1.
It's been,
equals the school record.
I just can't, you know, going back to what happened in Charlotte the start of the year, if you would have told me that UNC is going to reel off 11 straight games and go back to Charlotte as undefeated Coastal Division champions, no one would have believed that. I guess, you know, Fedora can say that he believed it and his players believed it. I'm not even really sure if those guys believe it. I mean, it's just been a remarkable, crazy turnaround for these guys.
Well, that's where UNC will be next week in Charlotte against #1 Clemson with their own ACC title and even playoff hopes alive. We'll have all that coverage here at newsobserver.com.